Hi, Billy.
Hi, Yvonne. How are you?
Good. This is, you're entering the Not Nosy, Just Curious podcast, and I'm going to revisit this hockey advisor topic with you. Now, this is what you do as a job. For the sake of clarity, can you tell, in a short description, can you tell what a hockey advisor does?
Well, what we do, we're very knowledgeable in the field of hockey. Obviously, I belong to a group called JDM Sports. We're based out of Chicago. I'm the Michigan representative, and we have a bunch of hockey guys that have been around the game, coaches, scouts, involved in the game for numerous years, 40, 50 years, some of us. So what we do, we advise young athletes how to succeed in the sport they love to play. So most of these kids don't know how to get to the next step. That's why they hire our firm, and our firm educates them on the different possibilities of places to play, of coaching, what they need to work on, how to get to the next step. And that's through our years of experience.
Why would I need an advisor?
Well, it's very important to have somebody in your corner that knows the game. First of all, knows the ins and outs. Most kids are raised in Detroit area, for instance, that if you don't play in the USHL or the North American Hockey League, that your career's over. Well, we're tied into every community of hockey there is, all levels. So there's, basically majority of our kids go to college. That's why they hire us. And our biggest attribute is we know every college coach in the country, and there's numerous colleges that offer assistance that most of these kids don't even know about. They're only familiar with the Division I schools, which are only 70 teams, but there's over 700 colleges or universities that offer.
Now, where do you get those statistics? So 700 teams and where do you get that from?
You just go on collegetohockey.com.
Oh, all right.
And you can push it right up.
And you know these coaches personally?
Most of them, not all 700, obviously.
No, right.
But the Division I schools, we know them personally. I've talked to them over the years, most of them. And a good majority of the 700.
So would one of these coaches take a kid based on your recommendation alone? I mean, are you that respected?
Yes.
You are?
Yes. Well, first of all, they know that I've been in this business long enough that I'm not going to send them a kid that can't play at their level. We're going to send these kids where they're going to succeed and survive.
Now, have you seen recently in the last 2 years an amazingly remarkable player?
Yes, we've had.
Or do you think the young kid today has gotten lazy?
There's a lot of different factors going in today's world than it was 20 years ago.
What is it?
It's just, these kids today are, actually it's more of a money sport, because if you don't have money today, you can't hardly probably play this game.
Isn't that terrible?
It's terrible. It's terrible. So it eliminates all the blue collar type players.
That's terrible though, right? There could be some real diamonds in the rough there that just don't happen to have the money to play hockey.
Tons and tons of kids they drop off because of the cost of the sport. I mean, just for instance, a hockey stick today, a high-end hockey stick is $400.
What does skates cost?
Skates are over $1,000.
Skates?
Somewhere between $1,200 and $1,500 for a pair of skates.
And to get on one of these elite teams, what does that cost?
Oh, like a AAA team in Detroit, they range anywhere from $7,000 a year to $20,000.
Really?
Yes.
Now, because you play,
travel.
Say you're just a high school player or a AAA player, does the AAA player get more recognition because he played, or does a high school at least get the
higher end players would play AAA? But there are some
money doesn't just talk for AAA. You have to at least show up. You have to at least have a skill.
Well, you bring the money factor, and it is a lot cheaper to play high school hockey because there's only just the fees. They don't travel as much as the AAA teams do, so the cost is about half. So there are some very good players playing high school that don't want to spend the money to play AAA to get the exposure. AAA, they bring these kids together. They travel all over the world.
So AAA is not a better player necessarily.
Well, majority of them are.
They are.
But there's still some great hockey players in high school.
Do you ever go and represent high school kids?
I have a few.
You do?
Yes, few. Majority of the kids I deal with are AAA because they're more heavily involved and they want to go to the next step. High school level, figure a kid that's a senior in high school, he's going to be playing. He's 18 years old. He's going to be playing with 14-year-olds, freshmen.
Oh, that's terrible.
So
right?
yeah, it's a big separation. So if you're the best player, you're practicing every day with some 14-year-olds, which, like a AAA 18 player, all the kids are 18 and they're all at the highest level. So you're playing time and you play more games, and so your chance to make it to the next step is greater than playing for high school.
Do you think your coaching experience or your experience as a player has made you a better advisor?
Most definitely. I mean,
The coaching
from my past
experience or the
experience,
player experience?
I use both. I mean, both of them. Back in the day when we were playing hockey, there wasn't, they took the hardest working kid, and there was no kids that didn't work hard, because if you didn't work hard, you probably didn't play this game.
Is that right?
So today's world is a money game. So if a kid's parent comes up with $10,000, says, okay, we're going to play for you, the kid doesn't really have to give you 100%, because he's.
Isn't that kind of sad, Billy?
Very sad. Very sad.
So how do you represent a kid like that? How do you become an advisor to a kid like that?
Well, the toughest part of my job is to educate the parents. The parents today think that the more money they spend, the farther their kid's going to go. And and it's the most false thing in the world that the parent can think, is that spend all this money for an advisor, a coach,
Is that frustrating?
Very much so. It's the parents want it more than the kids sometimes. And so to tell the parent, because your kid's not going to be able to play in the USHL, is like devastating.
Do you tell them?
Yes.
Are you very honest?
I lose a lot of clients because I tell them up front, well, I can't see you playing in the USHL. We're going to try our best to get you there, but this is more a fit for you where you're going to play. You want to go someplace where you're going to play.
That's exactly what I was going to ask you. Do you think you should be the best player on the worst team or the worst player on the best team?
See, that's a flip of a coin. It really doesn't matter. All that matters if you're going to play. If you're the worst player on the best team, you better play.
But you're not going to play.
Well, who knows? Depending on the coach. And now, see, coaches, there's a wide range of coaches.
Did you play everybody?
Our program, we played everybody.
Everybody got a chance.
Yeah, we didn't take a kid unless we thought we can develop them. We took some lesser developed kids, and we hopefully by Christmas we got them into be pretty good players.
But that's your program. Do you think some coaches don't want to develop? They just want to win?
Well, today it's all, everything's the internet. So if you're not ranked high, you're not going to get the better players. So now they're only taking the best players, and if you're not good enough, you're not going to play on that good team. For instance, I represent a kid from Alaska. He's probably one of the top defensemen at the 08 level. I brought him. He wanted to play for the best team in Detroit at that time. At this time, was Little Caesars. I brought him out there. He was by far as good as anybody on the team, defenseman. But the coach says, "Hey, for me to bring a guy in, he's got to be better than what I got." So he didn't take this kid, and then we put him on another team. But he was as good as his top four guys. He could have been in his top four on that team, but the coach felt he wanted to be.
Billy, do you think a lot of kids learn life lessons from sports?
I think hockey is probably the best sport for that.
Why?
Well, because the kid learns to play with all levels and work for different kind of bosses. When I say bosses, are different coaches. I always recommend that you play on a different team every year growing up, because you get different coaching from different kids. A lot of these kids play with the same coach for 5 years. Well, that's all he's getting for.
Yeah, but what about the kid who says the coach doesn't like me, he won't play me?
Then obviously the kid in that coach's eyes feels that.
But what kind of lesson is that teaching?
Well, it's it's not really teaching a lesson. What it's teaching the kid is that's why there's so many different teams and different leagues. Now, just for instance, say like the AAA level, there's like 8 divisions of AAA. There was 1 in the past. Now, if you don't want to play in the Tier 1, you can play in the Elite, or you can play in the Midwest Elite League, or you can play in the the North American Prospect.
A lot of options.
So you can leave the one league and go play in another league and get the same outcome. Yes.
So if you don't like this coach because he picks on you, you can just go to another team.
Well, yes, we don't recommend you move from team to team, but if the fit is not right for that family.
But that's a contradiction. You just said you think they should move.
Well, yes, I said if it's not the right fit, being the coach or the team, or some kids don't get along with some kids and some teams, then it's time. Then you should move where you're going to get that.
But you don't think other sports have those same lessons? Why do you say hockey is?
Well, I think because hockey, once you establish on a team, there's the top line and then there's the bottom line, and there's lines in between. So you got a mixture of guys. You got to learn to play with all those different type of players.
Don't you have to do that on other teams?
So the best players got
on football or baseball.
Well, because the weaker players don't play in those sports.
Oh,
only if somebody's injured they get caught in. The fourth line will play, like the first line will play hard enough to help that fourth line. So, and they work together. So that's the difference of sports.
So you feel hockey is a real sport of teamwork.
Well, yes. If you learn, like I'm saying, if you learn to play in a team system, now the coach is putting up in what he wants you to play, and every kid has his own way to play, but the coach is telling you got to play this, defensively or whatever, which way the coach is teaching, you got to learn to play that system.
Have you ever had a player that just was not cooperative and just not part of a team?
Yes, and coaches.
Just was a sour.
If a coach has a player in that nature that doesn't learn to play his system, like each coach has this different way to play, and if he doesn't play the way that coach likes him, then the coach is not going to like the kid. Obviously, he's going to hope that he leaves.
So do you think advising is a good fit for you?
I think it's a good fit. If they, it's still, you can be the best advisor in the world, give the best advice, but the family's still going to make their own decisions.
Yeah, okay, that's any sales job.
And
what's the difference between advising, being the advisor, or the agent?
Well, an agent works for a lawyer's firm, works for a law firm. Okay, an agent is the higher end player, the NHL caliber type player, which is a handful of kids at each age bracket, and the agents all fight over those top 3 or 4 kids every year to get them in their system, because where they make their money is when the kid signs a pro contract. And obviously today it's such a big market, because like a rookie today will sign for 1.8 million first rounder. So you figure anywhere from 3 to 30% the agent will get. So obviously, like these 2 kids we just had, the Red Wings signed for $8 million. So their agent, if he only got 2% of $8 million.
Okay.
Yeah, but that's just not one time. It's every year that kid plays. So those kids signed 8-year deals. So if they're making $300,000 a year for the next 8 years, these agents.
Okay.
So that's why there's such a big demand for these agents to find these top kids, and so they sign like they don't charge these families, but they sign like 50 kids, but only 3 of those kids are going to make it to the National Hockey League. So those other 45 kids that they got sort of get neglected.
But not really, because it didn't cost anything.
No, it didn't cost them nothing, but the families think that they belong to this agent, that he's going to do the best he can. But if the kid falls off a step, then after 4 years, the kid's lost, and he's got to find. Then they call me.
I was just going to say, do you think the fees that your company charges is very reasonable?
I think we're the best with our company. Puts out, like, they charge $3,500, and we haven't raised the prices in a couple of years. But the $3,500 is a one-time fee. So if you sign up at 15, we're working for your son all the way till he's 20, because most of these kids don't go to school. They're 20, 21 in hockey. So we got us for 5 years for the same number.
And this company you work for, what's the name?
JDM Sports.
And you like this company?
It's a great company. There's 4 old timers like myself, and then we probably got 15 to 20 guys that are coaches, been around the game 10, 15 years, been a great hockey, knowledgeable people that work under us or with us. So we have like 30 people that helping your kid go to the next step.
So would you advise a retired coach to become an advisor?
If they're willing to give their time and their effort, if they love what they're doing. I mean, I love what I do. So, I mean, and my boss is the same way. We do this because we love the game.
You do love hockey.
Yes, we do.
I know.
But,
No, I don't think you're obsessive about it, but
Yeah.
you're really, I mean, you never, ever tire of it. Never.
Well, it's part of my life. It's been
I
my life.
understand, but you'd think at some point in your life, you'd go, oh, enough hockey, but not you. I mean, you can watch reruns of hockey games.
Well, I'm just saying that, hockey is it's a funny sport, but it's very gratifying when our company that I work for, we had 138 college commits, and the kids that we represent this year alone, 138. Last year we had over 100. I think it was 108 last year, and we keep going up. So if your goal is to go to college, which is 90% of our guys they want to go to college. Obviously, every kid wants to play pro, but we do a very good job finding them a place to go to college and play.
Okay, Billy, do you have anything just to wrap it all up? Like tell the people they need this advisor, or I mean, what can you say in closing here?
Well, I would just say, an advisor is going to give you the knowledge that you don't know, the information on teams. I'll give you a quick scenario. Say your kid's a junior age, goes off to junior, 3,000 miles away from home in September, because there's a lot of changes. If you look at these junior teams, they go through 50 to 100 guys every year. So your kid makes this team and he's in, say, Omaha, Nebraska, and he gets cut in November. Mm-hmm. Now the kid says, what do? I have no place to go. Well, an advisor will have you a place to go. He would probably know that they're ready to get rid of you before you do, because they're very close contact with all these teams, and I'd be looking for a place for him to go. So if he does get released or cut, we'd have another place to go right away. Boom.
And just to clarify, does the kid always want to go to the next place you want him to go? I mean,
not necessarily. I mean, kids always want to play at the best level, right? But if they get cut from one level, like I said, if your goal is to go to college, there's other avenues, and that's what I teach. So don't get discouraged. You're not playing on the best program or the league. You're still going to get to college if you work hard enough and develop.
What has always been a curiosity to me is like when you see these kids get pushed or shoved or get banged into the wall, how they have the constitution to not become angry.
Well, it's a physical sport.
I know, but I mean, seems like action reaction. The first thing you would want to do is lash out but these kids just go on and play the game. Is that taught?
If you belong to my advisor group, I've taught kids that, hey, especially in a big game, you don't want to take a bad penalty in a big game. So the kid that hit you or gave you a cheap shot, hey, next year's another year. Next week is another week. So some kids are waiting 3 or 4 years and they finally meet this guy, and guess what? They get it back.
So it's a wait. I'll get you later.
Yeah. So if you're smart.
It's a great lesson in life though, too.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So if you watched the Stanley Cup Finals last year, there were some very vicious blows. And I guarantee you, if you saw the start of this season, some of those vicious blows, it carried over to this year. Some of those guys took advantage of guys.
Yeah, okay. That's always been like, wow, why don't they? How do you get just like pushed around like that and not retaliate or push back or something? All right. Well, we're going to close this up. And you say in finale, get an advisor.
I would say it to be the best investment of your life. So if your kid wants to go to college, get an advisor, because we will save you 40 to 80% of your son's college tuition.
And you're not exaggerating.
And I'm not exaggerating. This year I had 23 out of our group that over 100. And every one of those kids I saved over 50%. So for instance, Adrian is $32,000. We can get a kid in there. We've gotten kids in there for $15,000 or $12,000. So right off the bat, $20,000 a year for 4 years. We saved the guy $80,000 for that little $3,500 that family spent 3 years ago.
On top of all the other.
Yes.
Yes. So, the other expenses.
But yes, an advisor if he's good enough to get you into schools, which our company is very good at, like I said, we'll save you anywhere between 40 and 80% of your college. So
all right. Well, you did
get
good.
An advisor.
All right, but one more thing I want to revisit. You ended that other segment kind of abruptly. I mean, do you want to say anything to me now?
That I love you.
That's good. Okay, goodbye.
Bye.